The island you're seeing is called Great Britain, the United Kingdom, or the UK. Today, it spans only 94,000 square miles. But just 100 years ago, this country ruled a quarter of the world. From North America to Africa, the Middle East, South Asia, East Asia, and Australia, its influence was everywhere. In human history, there has hardly been an empire that reached such a peak where the sun both rose and set on it. But today, the world's most powerful empire is facing its worst economic crisis. As of 2024, the UK's debt has reached 99.5% of its GDP. However, if you look at its neighboring countries, Ireland's debt is 43% of its GDP, and Germany's debt is 64% of its GDP. Gang violence and homelessness have reached their highest levels in the last 30 years. In the last 10 years, homelessness in the UK has increased 50%. High salaries and wages, which once attracted people from all over the world to London, have remained at the 2008 level for the past 16 years. Meanwhile, the inflation rate is the highest it has been in the last 40 years. Thousands of skilled workers are leaving the UK in search of better salaries. The sixth largest economy in the world now has 10 million people living in absolute poverty. 2 million people in the UK go without food for at least one day each month. The NHS, which was once a global example of how healthcare should be, is now in such a state that 8 million people are on waiting lists in hospitals despite being in critical condition. And it's not just healthcare. All government departments are in crisis, whether it's law and order or transportation. Today, the UK is the worst performing developed nation in the world. Just a few days ago, Britain was literally burning. People were setting cars on fire and throwing stones at homes. Today, the situation is such that even Elon Musk is tweeting that civil war in the UK is certain. What happened to the most powerful country in human history, the country that once ruled the entire world? What mistakes did Britain make that led it to face such a severe crisis? Let's understand the truth. The story begins in 2016, when the UK decided to leave the European Union. On June 23, 2016, a special referendum took place in which 50% of British people voted to leave the European Union. This was the turning point where the economic crisis in Britain began. The process of the UK leaving the European Union is called Brexit. Now, it's important to understand a very significant part of history, how and why the European Union was formed. When World War II ended, European countries realized that if they continued to fight among themselves, all their resources and money would go into building armies and defending their borders. Looking at the map of Europe, two things become very obvious. First, these countries are very small, and second, they are closely connected to each other. European leaders thought that if they continued to behave as separate countries, their internal conflicts would never end, and they would never progress. Therefore, in 1952, 6 countries, Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, came together to form the European Coal and Steel Community to massively boost their economies. This community formation benefited these countries greatly. For example, after World War II, France needed coal and steel to rebuild its infrastructure, and Germany provided these materials at very cheap rates. This way, France was able to get raw materials at very low cost, and Germany easily found a nearby buyer for its natural resources, with almost no transportation costs. Similarly, Italy, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg gained access to the markets of larger countries like Germany and France. So, all in all, these 6 countries were trading freely without taxes or conflicts, and their economies started growing rapidly. Seeing this success, other European countries also began joining this community, and by 1993, 12 countries had joined, and the European Union had become the most powerful organization in the world. Major world powers were part of the European Union, and here comes a very important point. The biggest benefit of being in the European Union was that anyone living in Europe could freely move to any European country, work there, do business, or even build homes. Similarly, goods could move freely between countries without any taxes or fees. For example, A businessman selling furniture in Greece could easily sell his furniture in the UK without paying any additional taxes or fees. Another major advantage of being in the European Union was that when countries negotiated trade deals with countries outside Europe, they didn't negotiate alone. The entire European Union would negotiate on behalf of the country, and obviously, being backed by such a powerful organization, every country's bargaining power was significantly stronger. Given all these advantages of being a part of the European Union, why did the UK decide to leave? There are three main reasons. First, the UK felt that the European Union was benefiting more from its membership. For example, between 2012 and 2016, Europe caught 7.5 million tons of fish from British waters, while the UK caught only 90,000 tons from European Union waters. Similarly, in 2013, the UK's contribution to the European Union budget was £17 billion, while it received only £6.3 billion in return. British citizens felt that other European countries were taking advantage of the UK. The second reason was immigration. Countries like Poland, the Czech Republic, and Hungary had also joined the European Union. And since Eastern Europe was much poorer than Western Europe, people from these countries started migrating to the UK. Due to this migration, the UK's population, which was 3 million in 2004, increased to 9.5 million by 2021. Similarly, in 2010, civil wars started in the Arab world, and Europe opened its borders to Arab immigrants, with the majority choosing to move to the UK. The UK felt that this decision by the EU was having the most negative impact on it. This increasing immigration started affecting public infrastructure, job opportunities, wages, and other aspects of life in the UK. People began to believe that the root cause of all problems was the policies of the European Union. As a result, British people began to feel that they could make better decisions without the influence of the European Union, and they wouldn't have to bear the burden of other countries' decisions. This was the third reason, after which the referendum took place in 2016, and the UK separated from the European Union. Brexit began to have a very negative impact on the UK. According to a report by the Bank of England, between 2016 and 2021, investment in England fell by 25%. Then, with the arrival of COVID-19 and the start of the Russia-Ukraine war, this crisis worsened. On one hand, investments were low, and on the other, the UK was heavily funding Ukraine against Russia. Additionally, due to energy sanctions, the UK could no longer buy oil and gas from Russia. After Brexit, UK trade was completely hit. The European Union was the UK's largest trading partner, and 48% of UK imports came from the EU. However, after Brexit, British goods could no longer enter Europe freely. To correct this mistake, in 2020, the UK signed a free trade agreement with the European Union, allowing it to trade with Europe without any taxes or customs duties. But perhaps it was too late. The biggest disadvantage for the UK is that it has a service-based economy, which is very vulnerable during financial shocks and economic crises. For example, during the 2008 financial crisis, both Europe and the Western world were severely affected. However, China, being a manufacturing-based economy, did not suffer as much during this crisis as the US or Europe did. This is why, in 2008, when there were massive layoffs in the financial and IT industries, companies like Nestle, which make essential goods like water, soap, razors, etc., were hardly impacted because people can't easily stop buying such essential items. Similarly, the manufacturing sector creates more jobs compared to the service sector. Another major consequence of Brexit is that the UK is facing a severe labor shortage. According to statistics from 2024, the UK is short of 30,000 nurses. Moreover, there is a lack of funds for healthcare facilities. To make matters worse, no one in Europe is concerned about the UK's situation because it left the European Union voluntarily. There are no jobs, inflation is constantly rising, and as a result, anger is increasing among British nationals. This anger is sometimes directed at immigrants or people from other nationalities. These are conditions that the UK may have never seen before. So, the UK is in a deep mess. Wrong decisions and selfish thinking have brought Britain to this point. Given the current situation, it is possible that we will soon see the collapse of the Great British Empire right before our eyes. We will meet in the next video with another interesting topic. Take care. Goodbye.